Good afternoon. The other day I did a quick video on sharpening a plain iron, a number 5 plain iron with a really inexpensive Arkansas sharpening stone that I picked up at a home center. The whole point being I wanted to show that you really don't need anything expensive or fancy to sharpen woodworking tools to get them in at the point where they're sharp enough to work do real woodworking with. In that video, I grabbed a number 5 plane iron just because the plane was sitting on my bench, and I just grabbed it. That iron, this type of sharpening stone here, which, as I said, it's very inexpensive, isn't really meant to sharpen a wide iron like that. But I mentioned that it probably would work better on a chisel. So here is a Narrow skew chisel. You look at, I'm not going to tell you that this chisel is dull. It's not, but it's not what I would call really woodworking sharp. It's sharp enough to you could take a piece of cheap pine and probably get away with it, but it is not going to take the finest shave. You're not going to be able to use it to take super coarse or super fine shavings. It's really middling right now. So, and considering that skew chisels are a little bit tougher to sharpen by hand than a regular square edge chisel, I'm going to try to do this with the once again with this inexpensive stone, just to see what the results are and see how I do. So concept is same: raising a bar, removing the bar, polishing it with a leather strop charged with compound. I'm not going to talk like I did yesterday. This really should only take a few minutes. So here we go. Register the chisel, lift it up, get going. As I said, I prefer to sharpen with one hand. I usually don't use two hands, and you really don't need to in most cases. And I already have a bar there. I'm going to remove the bar, register it, lift. Use the whole stone. Listen to the sound, as one commenter mentioned on my blog. If you're off, you can usually hear it on an oil stone. Water stones not so much, but an oil stone you usually can hear if you're misgrinding. I am slightly askew there. I have a really good bar, but I'm going to see if I can get this a little bit more even. Lift, even pressure. I am pushing down. I'm adding some force. I'm not just letting this skate across the top of the stone. Try a little bit more. And I have the bar all the way across. Do what I did yesterday, lift, index, lift it in slightly, about a couple degrees, pull. And that looks pretty good. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see it on here. Remove this. Strap. See if I can get the camera a little bit closer here without knocking it over. A little better. Same thing right here. I do use 2 hands to keep control. 25, 30 strokes is usually good. I don't really count. This is already charged from yesterday, so I didn't need to recharge it. Now I'm going to put it on the leather pad that has no charging compound on it. And that should be pretty sharp. Here's the same wonky pine board from yesterday. I cleaned up this side of the end grain with the jack plane I sharpened yesterday before I did the video. Let's see if this will take any shavings from this. And there it is, that's end grain shavings. Pretty easily too, I'm barely putting any pressure on it. See if I can go a little deeper. So this board is not great, but it's easily, it's really biting into that board. And it should be sharp enough to take a real fine, curly type shaving. Well, that's showing me that's a grain. Pretty bad. There you go. Almost like a spill. So yeah, that's, as I said, you don't really need a super expensive stone. I prefer water stones, but the only reason I do is because when I got into woodworking maybe a dozen years or so ago, water stones were sort of like the flavor of the week. So I purchased a water stone and used it, and the first one I ever purchased actually fell. It was a double-sided 1,000, 8,000 grit stone, and it fell and cracked into half a dozen pieces. And I picked up a King 800 grit and a King 8,000 grit, 2 separate stones, and I've been using those for probably 8 years or so. But if I were starting again and I knew what I know now, I would be completely comfortable buying a nice Arkansas stone or an India stone and using that and getting really good results. It's not very hard to do, and takes just a little bit of time. It just takes a few minutes, as you saw. Now, just to preface, this chisel has been prepared. I flattened the back of it years ago when I bought it, but we're not talking about prepping, we're just talking about sharpening. So in that regard, this method is more than capable of giving you sharp enough tools that you can work your typical woodworking woods, pine, oak, walnut, cherry, ash. This chisel's easily sharp enough to handle all of those boards. So I hope this helps, and have a great day.